Did you know a lot of the population growth in the United States has slowed to the lowest level in 100 years? It's true. The US was growing fast, and then all of a sudden, people don't want to have kids as much. You can't blame people. Shit's expensive now, and kids are little brats anyways. No, really. With stuff like this going on, having kids is kind of scary. But there are places in the US where you wouldn't know there was a population plummet. While a lot of us are moving around trying to figure out our next home destination, certain cities are getting a lot of the attention. In fact, some cities in some states are growing too fast. At least that's what people who live there say. Today we're going to briefly visit the cities in every state that are growing the quickest. Some are large metro areas that have always grown fast and are still adding people at a very high rate. Some of these cities you may not have even heard about before. Now, if you're trying to move somewhere where everybody's going, where it's booming, there's a lot of jobs, but it's really expensive, this will probably be helpful to you. And if you're trying to avoid the crowd and go where nobody else is going, well, hopefully this will be helpful to you as well. We got to go and get started because it's going to rain and we got to take the sailboat out to visit the fastest growing cities in every single state. Let's go, everybody. Fastest growing cities, they're the fastest growing cities, they're the fastest growing cities, cause everyone wants to go there, yeah! Yeah, that's right, that's me, us, right there. We're on a big old fancy sailboat. Right now we're on our way to Alabama to talk about the fastest growing city there. That's right, we're traveling by boat, homie. This'll be fun, right? Traveling all over the country by boat, looking at where all the people are. Pulling into Alabama's easy on this nice boat. This is Daphne, right on the coast. You can see why the population here has grown 28% in the last decade. That's actually one of the fastest growth rates of all U.S. cities. Alabama itself certainly isn't growing fast, though. It's one of the slowest growing southern states. Daphne's population growth is 8 times faster than Alabama as a whole. Why? Good schools, safety, comfort, and to live on the coast. That's why. All right, here we are pulling into Alaska. It's cold up here on this boat, I'll tell you that. Alaska's also growing slowly, and Anchorage is actually too. While a 4.2% growth rate is high for Alaska, when compared to other major U.S. cities, it's not. Part of that's because of jobs. As a state, Alaska's employment growth is down 7%. In Anchorage, it's only gone down by 5%. So people move to Anchorage for whatever work there is. A lot of the lost jobs here were oil and gas jobs. Okay, look at that. Pulling up our boat into Arizona. This is way hotter than the ocean up in Alaska, I'll tell you that. And we're going to get a car and go up to Phoenix. Phoenix is pretty much the fastest growing big city in America right now. A lot of people are moving out west, and a lot of them are moving here. Bunches of the newcomers are people fleeing California. Haha, California. It's just cheaper here, and people can stay close to family, because Arizona's right next door and all. And it's warm, so old people move here a lot too. But it's not just old people. Young families are flocking here for sorta cheaper, bigger homes and the booming job scene. Apparently 6 in 10 millennials say they want to leave where they currently live for places just like this. But I tell you what, it's growing way too fast. Oh shit. Okay, so we're gonna have to travel a different way. That's not gonna work. Okay, so I had to rent a car and all they had was this. But that's okay. We're going to Fayetteville now. They won't judge. If there's one part of Arkansas worth moving to, it's Northwest Arkansas. There's a lot of great jobs here, and it's still really cheap for a great home, and it's safe, and there's tons to do. Fayetteville's kind of in the middle of all of the Northwest Arkansas boom. I can't be seen in California in this. For the first time ever, California lost more people than moved in, because it's California, and it's ruined forever. There's still places here that are growing though. Stockton in the Central Valley is growing the fastest. This is the hub of the agriculture capital of the country, where they grow stuff like grapes and tomatoes. This part of the state's actually growing the fastest in terms of sheer number of people moving in. Look at this chart. California's coast has lost a ton of people, but the Central Valley's grown. I mean, it's like the last place in the state where it's cheap and you can still get good Mexican food a mile away. However, Stockton and other places in California's Central Valley, they have issues with crime and poverty. So if you're thinking of moving to California, choose somewhere else. Unless you're coming from Mexico and want to work in the fields. You know what? I'm calling Juan. Hey Juan, you have family in the Stockton area. How fast has it grown?
Very fast, yes.
Are there too many people there?
Not as many as back home in Juarez.
Yeah, I'd imagine not. Thanks, Juan, for that perspective.
See?
Everyone's moving to Colorado. This state's grown by about 15% in the last decade. And here in Greeley, it's grown by almost a third in the last 10 years alone. Jesus. Why Greeley? It's cheap and there's room to grow. And there's a decent blue-collar job scene. Crime and drugs are kind of bad here, and it's not the best place you can live. It's not terrible, but it's surrounded by a bunch of other great cities in the Denver area. There's a big area here along I-25 north of Denver that has great communities that are really safe and have great schools. Just not Greeley. But it's just so expensive to live in this part of Colorado. They aren't building starter homes anymore, so younger people beginning their lives can't afford to buy a home. They're all like these garage mahals with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms for $500,000. So it's either upper middle class or people renting apartments. And all these renters means there's a shortage of rentals, so they can charge whatever they want. And it's not just in Colorado, it's everywhere now. Connecticut's fastest growing city is Bridgeport, yuck. But not because Bridgeport's awesome, because it's already the biggest city here. But a 2.8% growth rate's really small. That's because a lot of people are leaving the Northeast. In the latest census, there were 11 states where the biggest city didn't grow fast enough to match the U.S. growth rate of 6.7%, and 8 of those 11 are here in the Northeast. In fact, all of the fastest growing cities in each Northeast state still had a growth rate below most other large cities in America. Everybody's leaving the Northeast to go south and west, where it's cheaper and warmer. Here in central Delaware is Dover, the state capital, and that's grown by more than 13% in the last 10 years. And Delaware's population's the only one in this part of the state that's growing kind of fast too. A lot of central Delaware was just farms, and now it's an emerging, sprawling suburb. 48.8%! What the? Of course Florida's growing fast, we knew that already, but the Villages is off the charts. They're putting in so many new homes here that the population's grown almost 50% in the last 10 years. What the? I mean, that's the most of all cities we're going to talk about today. The Villages is basically one big giant gated community about an hour from Orlando. It's all people over the age of 55. It's basically a really conservative community with a bunch of rich white people from the Northeast. Again, lots of people moving to Florida because it's warm and there's no income tax. Georgia's growing pretty fast. Atlanta's by far and away the main destination for people moving to this state. Some people say Atlanta could triple in size in the next 30 years. Hopefully, if that happens, it's good people, because Atlanta has a lot of issues with crime. Atlanta's population was going down fast in the 80s, but now it's bigger than ever. But if you live in the Atlanta area, you know, traffic here is the worst in the nation. It's really bad. One time I cut through Atlanta on my way south, and it took 4 hours to get through the Atlanta metro area. What the hell, Atlanta? But it's not just Atlanta, it's the whole metro area. All of the Atlanta northern suburbs, it's just one big new housing development. A lot of people are leaving Hawaii these days because it's way too expensive to justify living here anymore. You might think of paradise when you think of Hawaii. There's lots of homeless people and poverty and trash in a lot of areas. What's interesting is, only 7 years ago, Hawaii ranked as the 13th fastest growing state. Now it's one of the fastest shrinking. People have suddenly and recently decided to just leave. One area that's growing fast here is Kauai on the island of Maui. People in Idaho are looking at me really funny driving around in this thing. What, you've never seen an economy car around here, people? Idaho's the second fastest growing state right after Utah. And here in Boise, the population's grown 251%. Oh wait, sorry, I forgot a decimal. But even 25% is really fast. Many are, again, people from California and other western states want a big old home for a little price. But it's getting really expensive to live here now, and locals aren't too happy about that. I actually just talked to a woman who moved to Idaho 3 years ago to flee all the urban sprawl, and she's already leaving Boise. She said Boise's just growing too fast, and there's construction everywhere. It's just not peaceful anymore. In 3 years, she's out. Boise tried hard to get people to move there, and now there's just too many people moving in. Illinois is one of a few states that's had a population decline over the last decade. A lot of that's because of high taxes and cold weather. Many go to surrounding states for a cheaper life, and a lot of poor people are moving into Wisconsin from Chicago. Champaign's where the University of Illinois is. People in dying communities nearby like Decatur and Danville, they're moving up to Champaign where there's more to do and crime isn't as bad. And there's actually a few good jobs. But Champaign's not all that. I don't recommend you move there. Hey, Lafayette, Indiana. I used to live here. Oh shit, I can't be seen in this car. All my old friends are going to take a picture and tag me on Facebook. I need an upgrade. Boom! I can be seen in this now. That's right. Lafayette's grown faster than any other place in Indiana, but that's not saying much. Indiana's not a bad place to be, but it's also not very exciting. Jobs-wise, there's a lot of low-pay work in Lafayette, so wealthy people aren't moving here. There's a lot of bars and restaurants around town, and Purdue's right next door. And Indiana people love to smoke and drink and watch college sports. I'll tell you that. Iowa's growing even slower than Indiana is. Farming jobs are down big time since automation's taken over, and young kids just aren't into it like their grandparents were. Can't blame them. But Des Moines' booming. Des Moines' actually the fastest growing city in the whole Midwest. 33 people a day move here, if you can believe it. Why? Well, they're trying to recruit more young people and skilled workers to the city, and it's working. And the job market's not too bad for middle of nowhere America. It's just a true blue, good-blooded bunch of honest Americans here in Des Moines. For the most part. Fastest growing cities. It's the fastest growing cities, yeah! Lawrence is another vibrant college town in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, so if people are going to flock to a place, it's going to be a place like Lawrence. Look at that, just a bunch of middle-class homes spread out all over the place. Word's out about Bowling Green, and now hundreds of thousands of more people are going to find out about Bowling Green. It's a really great place to live down in the western side of the state. A big reason for that, it's home to Western Kentucky University, which has a lot of jobs and brings in new students who actually stay in town after they graduate. Bowling Green's a great place. And we talked about how sluggish Alabama's growth has been. Louisiana's also been growing slowly these days. You know, lots of poverty and a lack of great jobs. Good people down there, though, in Louisiana, I'll tell you. Hammond is halfway between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. A lot of people moved here after Hurricane Katrina, and the growth has continued to grow as they keep adding more and more subdivisions here. More and more jobs have moved in here, and it's cheaper here than in nearby parishes. Their motto is, move here. Okay. Well, it looks like it's working. There's a whole article here about how Hammond's dealing with the huge population growth, and there's some growing pains, I'll tell you. The population growth in Maine had been so slow that it looked like it was going to be negative. For years, people have been leaving this state for better, higher paying jobs and for more culture. However, in the last couple of years, people are moving here in big numbers because of COVID. People want space and safety and can work from home now. Maine isn't the cheapest state, but it's below average. One moving company said last year Maine was third in the country for inbound moves. Portland's grown by a decent amount because it has the most jobs and the most culture. Salisbury is a smallish place on Maryland's eastern shore. You may not have even heard of Salisbury before and might be wondering why so many people are moving here. Well, it's been called a great place to retire, and it's also one of the safest places in the whole state. Look at me rolling deep in Boston, yo! I'm going to Mattapan, gonna get me some stuff! Massachusetts' growth rate peaked years ago, and Boston's population had plummeted in the 80s, but now things are picking up here again these days. It's a pretty safe city, there's a lot of tech jobs, and the suburbs are pretty safe and clean and nice for the most part. It's just so damn expensive here. I don't know how these new people moving in can afford it. I have to say though, Boston is pretty much the cleanest, safest, best run liberal city in the nation. Why can't more liberal cities be as well run as Boston? I think we'll never know the answer to that. So Michigan's shrinking fast too, and if things don't turn around, this state's also going to see a population decline in a year or two. We're here in Grand Rapids though. There's a bunch of new homes springing up and a surprising scene for entrepreneurs. Grand Rapids was ranked in the top 10 for growing economies, third for first-time homebuyers, and has one of the hottest zip codes in the nation. Good for you, Grand Rapids. And I also want to say what's up to my nieces who live in Grand Rapids. What's up, girls? They probably won't see this. They don't watch me. They watch TikTok all day. Yuck. Minneapolis. The economy here is robust. Everything from healthcare to tech. And there's some really good schools and lots of parks in the city. But sadly, it's growing at a pretty decent rate. And I say sadly because as this city's attracted all sorts of new job-seeking families, it's also become a much more dangerous place and so damn woke. I just talked to one guy who lives in Minneapolis, and he said he doesn't recommend people move here anymore because of all the emerging problems in the Twin Cities, and that's just too bad. Well, it's official. The state of Mississippi has now stopped growing. In the last 10 years, it's grown, 0%. There's some okay areas here, though. Jackson's a dump, but there's some really stellar suburbs in the Jackson area. But the fastest growing city here is way down in Biloxi, down on the coast. Hey, we could have just taken the boat here if we still had it, right? Biloxi has all kinds of new hotels and attractions, and you could say Biloxi's a hot spot for development. You know the adage, construction breeds construction. It's good to see it bounce back here after how badly Hurricane Katrina jacked this place up. Good for you, Biloxi. Columbia is a college town with an economy that's growing double the state average, so you can understand why so many people are moving here. Actually, Columbia is the only city in the whole state of Missouri with an economy that's growing faster than the nation. So that's cool. People go where good jobs are. Nothing new about that. Now, California people know about moving to Montana. This article talks about how much Montana people hate people from California. Because, they come up here and drive up the housing costs. Most of the newcomers, though, are actually people that are politically similar to the people in Montana. But Montana people just don't like outsiders tromping on their cow patties and all. All that growth is spilling into the small towns nearby, and folks are fit to be tied. Missoula's the fastest growing of all cities here. Home prices have gone up 35% in the past decade, and now it's about $500,000 for a home here. And many in the surrounding hills are way more than that, pal. But hey, you can sell your overpriced tiny house in LA, and this seems like heaven. Another college town tops the list. Of course, Lincoln is where the flagship campus is for the University of Nebraska. As a whole, this state's growing about the same as the national average. It's not fast, it's not slow. And actually, this is the first time that Nebraska's grown at the same rate as everybody else. No idea if they threw a parade or anything when they found out about that. Probably not. Lincoln's a great place to live, though. Practically the whole state's up to snuff for what you would want in life. Except things to do. But Vegas clearly has things to do. Too many things to do. Some people are calling Nevada the new California, which sucks for Nevada. No, there's some good people fleeing Southern California for Vegas. More and more every day. The California exodus is the only reason Nevada's the third fastest growing state in the country. And that's also the reason this state doesn't vote red anymore, too. Clearly, there's lots of room to grow here, but Vegas has issues with homelessness and drugs and crime. There's some really great burbs here if you look around. If you can stand the heat. And the damn window on this thing's jammed. I'm baking in here. It's kind of torture. I'm going to call Alamo and see if they'll put me in a new ride. Okay, so this isn't what I had anticipated, and we still have a long way to go. Damn it. Manchester is unaffectionately called Manch Vegas, which is funny because this place is nothing like Vegas. Apparently, there were a lot of illegal gambling facilities here in the 80s and 90s. People in New Hampshire say Manchester is a bad place, but it's not that bad. I mean, I guess for New Hampshire it might be. Crime is pretty bad for the state, and the schools aren't good, but look at the main drag. It's actually really cool. Hey, look, the only city on this list that's shrinking. Yes, the fastest growing city in New Jersey is actually losing people. Haha, LOL emoji. Lots of people are fleeing New Jersey. For the third consecutive year, New Jersey ranked as the most moved from state. Because, high taxes and cold weather. The people leaving the most are older, wealthier people who want to retire in a place that's warmer and, better. Parts of New Jersey are really cool, but many, like here in Trenton, are not. Trenton is a dump, plain and simple. Not many people are moving to New Mexico despite the warm climate, the sunshine, and the really cheap homes. Problem is, there's only a few places here that are good cities to live in. The capital, Albuquerque, is home to drug-dealing carjackers. There's some areas in the mountains that are nice. Las Cruces, way down by the Mexico border, is 60% Hispanic, and Hispanics are the fastest growing ethnic group in the country. Crime-wise, it ain't pretty, but it's a college town, so there's some stuff to do. But the wonderful city of El Paso is only 45 minutes away. Just kidding, El Paso sucks. There's a lot of room here, and you can get hundreds of acres for what you might pay for a tiny house in LA. So there's that. We talked about how New Jersey's shedding people. New York is too. The state saw a minus 0.2% growth rate over the last decade. That means they're losing people as more and more older retirees are getting the heck out of here. The fastest growing city here is Poughkeepsie, and it's barely grown at all. It's a depressed, way past its prime place along the Hudson. You wouldn't want to move here. You wouldn't want to live in most areas in New York anymore. You may not know it, but New York has the highest tax burden of all states at 12.79%, including a 5% state income tax rate. Damn, son. Raleigh. Oh, hey, I know this place well. I used to live here for a few years, too. The Raleigh metro area has a great climate. It's really safe. It's politically neutral, and there aren't homeless people and druggies or woke people all over. You could pick anywhere within a 30-mile drive of Raleigh, and it would be a super great place to raise kids. Schools are above average. There's a lot of sports and activities, and they're building new restaurants and shopping centers all over the place. Plus, it's still sort of affordable, but probably not much longer. Get in on that now, people. North Dakota is not a bad place to live if you want lots of space and cheap living. It's super cold and kind of boring, and there's no drama except for the local drunk gossip. Fargo's the place to be in this state for various reasons. This is where all the jobs are in the state. And since there's colleges in town, there's an emerging tech scene, sort of. If you want to farm, there's lots of fertile land for that too, but most people don't want to farm these days, do they? But land values in Fargo have gone up by 74% in the last 10 years, so it's not as cheap as it once was. North Dakota's growth has slowed because of the loss of energy jobs, but it's still the 7th fastest growing state of all. North Dakota, who would have thought? But Ohio's not growing anymore. Columbus is, though. Actually, the whole area is growing really fast. Columbus went up by more than 12% in the last decade, but a lot of the smaller burbs went up by 20 and 30%. I mean, of all major U.S. metro areas in the Midwest, only Des Moines grew faster than Columbus. Look at this chart. Look at the rest of Ohio. Cincinnati's kind of growing a little bit, but people are leaving a lot of the major cities here, like they're really bad or something. Well, that's because they are really bad, sadly. Lots of jobs, people. People want to move. Oklahoma's just an average state in many ways. It's growing about average. The job growth is just about average. What isn't average is high crime and a much lower annual salary that residents earn. Now, Oklahoma City is where all the people move to within Oklahoma from other smaller cities. So, of course, it's going to be growing the fastest. People are also moving up here from Texas. It's pretty conservative in Oklahoma City, and there's lots of jobs, so that helps. Everybody pack your stuff up, we're gonna go here, everybody pack your stuff up, we're gonna move to a bigger city, yeah. Now, Portland used to be the fastest growing city in Oregon, but that was a while ago. People are leaving Portland now. It's not a surprise. I mean, it's really expensive to live here, and you can't take the kids downtown anymore without worrying about homeless people shooting up on the sidewalk or some extremists shooting paintballs at storefront windows. And while Eugene is kind of getting the same way, Bend is not. Not yet, anyways. Bend is probably the best place you can live in Oregon that's not on the coast. It is straight up exploding in Bend, so eventually what's cool about Bend may not be so cool anymore. They call it Zoomtown because of all the remote workers moving here and jacking up the prices on whatever affordable homes are left. Many are from San Francisco. Okay, so I gotta get out of this car once and for all. Mappy! Where were you? Hey, can you change my car to a better car for the end of this video? It's cramping my style, yo.
How about this?
A minivan? What the hell, Mappy? Why would you put me in this, dude? Freaking sucks. Whatever. Well, I'm driving around Westchester, PA in a very uncool car. This is just an average Philadelphia burb, Westchester is. It's not the wealthiest by any means, and it's not anything like Chester, which looks like this. Yeah, that was an interesting drive. Chester is terrible. One person describes Westchester as like a Hallmark movie. Okay, I think that's a bit of a stretch. Rhode Island stopped growing, and its biggest and worst city basically has two. There's nothing really interesting to say except it can't be that great here, or people would be coming. Myrtle Beach, 36.6%. What the? This place is exploding. Bunch of people are flocking to South Carolina for the low taxes and the warm weather. South Carolina is actually the 9th fastest growing state right now. But Myrtle Beach is not what it once was. It actually might be the most overhyped city in the country that is not Los Angeles. Crime's really bad here. It used to be a great place to not only vacation, but to raise kids. I mean, it's along the coast, and there's lots of regular golf and mini golf and all sorts of shopping. And it's super cheap for a house, like $250K for the average home. But there's shootings and stabbings and thefts and all kinds of drama from lowlifes going on in downtown Myrtle Beach all the time now. And it sucks because Myrtle Beach used to be a great place. I mean, look at these guys. If any of those punks were to bring their motorcycles down when I'm on duty, I'll take them and dump them right into the water. I don't think you can do that, super gay cop. Yes, I can. No, I don't think you can. I like that idea, though, super gay cop. Sioux Falls certainly doesn't have any crime, though. At least not what's going on down in Dirty Myrtle. South Dakota's growing really fast. And not just because their governor is an angel from heaven. No, it's actually not really that exciting as to why Sioux Falls is growing fast. It's just really affordable here and it's drama-free. And they've lured lots of companies in because of low taxes and deregulation. Good old conservative values. Nashville used to be a chill place, just like Myrtle Beach. You used to be able to go downtown Nashville and listen to music. Now it's been overrun by a bunch of youngish drunk people who stand in line for an hour. It's too bad because it'll never be the same. They're really fixing this place up and all the nearby burbs are blowing up in every direction. The weather here is great. The economy here is great. The state of Tennessee saw a 6% job growth in the last decade. In Nashville, it's closer to 18%. That's triple for people who don't do math. But no, Nashville's great. It's just too crowded and too expensive. That's too bad. Everybody's moving to Texas. It's the third fastest growing state of all, but no other city, Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio, is growing as nearly as fast as Austin has. It's a really stimulating city with any job you can think of. It's kind of the new San Francisco of the South. Google, Amazon, Tesla, Oracle, Facebook, and a bunch of other large tech companies have moved large numbers of workers here to take advantage of Texas's zero income tax. But it's growing way too fast and getting way too expensive. If you're woke, you'll love it. But woke people usually can't afford to live in big modern cities like Austin, at least not comfortably, without mom and dad to lean on. Mom, I need some money for a new black hoodie. Please. I think she said no. And quit playing Xbox and get a job. Okay, so Utah's the fastest growing state these days, for good reason. If you want lots of sunshine and a booming economy and lots of great little safe communities, you can go practically anywhere in the Salt Lake City metro area. But St. George, way down here near the Arizona border, is actually growing even faster, like 34% faster in the last 10 years. Hello? It's sort of an artsy place. It's very brown and hot. You could say it's a lot of Mormons, a lot of old people, and a lot of snowbirds who have second homes. So the pace of life is really slow. It's a cute downtown area, and it sits at the base of the Red Cliffs Desert Reserve. Look at this picture. Who wouldn't want to live in St. George? Vermont's another state which lost people since the latest census. There were only 7 of them, and one of them was Vermont. But you can see why. It's really expensive here. It's very cold, and there just aren't a lot of jobs or fun things for kids to do. Kids don't play outside anymore, in case you can't tell. However, that trend did shift back towards the end of the latest census, so maybe people are moving back to Vermont again, or just not leaving Vermont. Burlington is one of a few bright spots when it comes to growth and innovation. It's a really super nice city. It's really safe. It's kind of expensive. It's a cool, neat little town, and they're fixing it up all the time. I like Burlington, Vermont. You probably haven't heard of Leesburg, Virginia before. It was a smallish place, but the population here has grown by more than 10,000 in the last 10 years. It's in Loudoun County, a traditionally wealthy area in northern Virginia, kind of just inside the Maryland state line. Loudoun County is all the jam right now with praises about its great business opportunities, its high income earners, its really safe communities, everybody's involved. Just a good place with people who don't cause problems, if you can afford it. Washington's in the top 10 for growth rates, but the Seattle metro area is not the fastest growing place anymore. People are leaving Seattle because it's expensive, and they let lowlives vandalize things and throw crybaby fits all the time. What's the deal with that crap? Grow up. Kennewick, way down in Benton County, practically in Walla Walla, it's a place where more people are moving to in this whole state. They call this whole area down here the Tri-Cities area. It's Kennewick, Richland, Pasco, and West Richland. Okay, they should probably call this the Quad Cities area. Whatever. It's a great place to live, and it doesn't rain all the time, and you don't have to deal with this. West Virginia's lost more people than any other state, but they're still moving to Morgantown in big numbers. It's a college town, and if there's going to be any good jobs that aren't energy related, it would likely be here. You, friend, can apply for a $12,000 bribery to move yourself here. They're paying remote workers a lot of money to move here. They should have good internet, right? Do they have good internet in West Virginia? Well, I guess you get like $850 a month or something if they pick you. No idea on what their criteria is, and if you'll get shows for that $12,000 bribe to move there, but I bet if you wrote a really sappy letter, they might pick you. Another college town. Wisconsin's just about stopped growing overall, but Madison is still all the rage for newcomers. A lot of younger people are moving here apparently, not just to go to college, but there's lots of tech jobs and lots of healthcare jobs. And a lot of Madison's still kind of cheap when compared to other bigger cities in the country. Wisconsin's a great place if you can deal with the cold. And finally, Wyoming. It's really a state, I swear. The capital is Cheyenne, and that's also where a lot of people have been heading lately. Cheyenne used to have rodeos, and people used to drink their beers at local saloons and kiss pretty girls on the cheek. They still do all of that here, but today, Cheyenne has big buildings and even cable TV. There's a lot of space here, and folks just go at a slower pace. And that's what more and more people want these days. Cheap, wide open, safe places. Hopefully these places keep growing, and it would also be nice if some of these smaller communities that are dying began to spring back to life. But a lot of rural America is just dying away as people go where they can earn a good living. You just can't earn a good living way out in the middle of nowhere anymore. If you move to one of these cities soon, you'll be in good company, right? A lot of other people are moving there. But be nice to all of your new friends and neighbors. I feel like everybody today distrusts each other, and we're all so quick to get angry with each other. We're all so quick to protest everything, and a lot of it's based on misinformation anyways. Americans used to collaborate and empathize with each other, and now we're enemies of people we've never even met. What the hell? Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great! You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.
And are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. You can get my email in the description to find out how I can help you find your perfect relocation.